Hey guys, you know what time it is. We back. Gotta keep it real podcast. You know what time it is. We back at it at this time again. So, you know who it is. You know what I'm talking about. Told you guys, if you didn't see that last episode, at the end of it, go check it out. Because I'm tired of you not looking at my episodes. But still, I told y'all that I was kind of changing up the direction and I was going to talk about basketball. And guess what? We out here with our first Basketball Center podcast. Yes, sir. Alright. So, I just want to give you guys a little bit on, how I do my analytics. Like, my analytics style. So, I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of like a stat head because I like using, the stats. I use the stats to tell how good a player is. Of course, I still watch the games, and I know there are things that the stat sheet doesn't tell. So I like to use a combination of the stats and what they do on the court to tell how good a player is. So I do like to use the stats, and you guys will hear me bring up You guys will hear me bring up advanced stats. So I go very in depth when it comes to my stats. I look at advanced stats, where they're shooting the ball from, their shot chart. So I'll definitely be going in depth. And that's what I really like, because, get it, the name Gotta Keep It Real Podcast is still real here. I ain't going to be lying to you. I ain't going to be trying to find the best hot takes. I'm going to just be real. I'm going to just keep it real with y'all. Tell y'all what I think using the stats. I'm going to give you evidence. And I'm going to explain I'm going to explain, when I'm talking about it, I'm going to tell you guys that true shooting percentage. I'm going to give you guys an explanation of what each thing is so you're not confused when you're listening. But yeah, also, I want to tell you guys, before I actually get into, today's topic, I want to tell you guys, the things that I value when it comes to basketball. So, no, I don't value, I do value scoring. Scoring is a big thing in basketball, of course. You're trying to get the ball on the rim. But I like to, I also measure players very much on how well they play defense, the grit and grind, the things that don't show up on the stat sheet though. I still love those things, and I look at defense, the advanced stats for all that matters to me. Defense is something I very much cherish, and I also cherish being versatile. Versatility is something that I like. So I like players that can be like a two-way, like Paul George. I love Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Those are two-way players. They're versatile. They do multiple things. They can play multiple positions. I love those type of players. Giannis, he can play all 5 positions, and that's what I like. I like players that can be versatile and aren't one-sided players that are just a shooter or he's just a scorer. I want players that are going to be able to do it all. You get what I'm saying? Players that are going to give you a little bit of everything, the jack of all trades type players. So those are the things that I really value. And also when it comes to ranking players, what I value, I'm not a championships accomplishment guy. I don't care. Of course, I still put that in my argument, but it's not the say all be all thing. It's not something that I'm just oh, he has 6 championships, he has 10, he has 35 championships, so that makes him the GOAT. Okay, well, if you had 35 championships, you might be the GOAT. But you know what I'm saying? Championships don't weigh everything to me. So I'm more of a stat guy. If you're putting up amazing stats, amazing efficiency, you're a very highly notable player in my book, because those are just the players that I like, because I'm always looking at the stat sheet. But I also like players that do things that aren't on the stat sheet, because I also watch the games. I watch a lot of basketball. That's why I'm here to talk to you today. So right now, I'm about to get into, this is the first ever podcast. So I'm trying to, try new things. So I'm trying to start a segment called How Good Is He Really, right? Where this segment is pretty much going to be where I think it's going to be the only thing I talk about today, because I think this one's going to be pretty lengthy, because I did a lot of research when it comes to this. So how good is he really? It might not happen every podcast, because these take a lot of research. I spent 3 or 4 hours on this, doing quite a bit of research, looking in. It might not sound like I did a whole bunch of research, but like just saying that I'm only gonna be bringing up 3 or 4 things, but it's gonna be very in depth. I went very in depth with this. I did comparisons. So what it is I take a player, right? Excuse me. I take a player, and I just this season, because unless you guys want me to start doing like career, how good is he really, where I analyze a player over his entire career. This first one, I'm only analyzing the player over this season. I know you can say the season hasn't ended yet, but we're 65 games into the season. So you're really not boosting your stats much more. You know what I'm saying? Your stats aren't going up that much more. And no one's just going to explode for so many more points. So, sorry if you guys hear that background noise. People walking around. Can't be quiet. But, so yeah, it's where I analyze somebody over this past season or a certain season of their career. And, yeah, so let me get right into it. Today, I'll be talking about how good is Draymond Green really, right? Draymond Green. I don't like this guy personally. That's why I chose to start out with him. I also chose to start out with him because he's one of those guys that I was talking about that plays don't show up on the stat sheet. He's one of those guys that his effectiveness, well, that can be found in the advanced stats, how effective he is. But in the past, he's been one of those guys that his impact on the floor isn't weighed on the stat sheet. He's just one of those guys where it's like, you know he's good, but he's just not the stat sheet guy. So, alright, how good is Draymond Green really this season? I'm going to break this down into 3 or 4 different sections. Starting off, I'm going to compare this season to his best season of his career, which would be the 15-16 season. So, this season, Draymond Green has averaged 8 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 0.8 of a block, 1.5 steal on 36 field goal percentage, 27 3-point, 3 attempts a game, 0.3. I mean, my bad. And 0.8 3-pointers made on 75% free throw percent. Now in the 16, he's played 43 games out of 65, and he's been ejected 3 times this season. So I'm gonna say that you know what I'm saying. He didn't play full games. But anyways, in the 15-16 season, he averaged 14 points, 9.5 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 1.5 blocked, 1.5 steals on 49% field goal, 38% from 3-point on 3.2 attempts and 1.2 makes a game. He had 3.2 turnovers that season. Oh, I forgot to mention that in this season right now, he's averaging 2.3 turnovers. So, as you can tell from these stats, Draymond Green has definitely had a fall off since his best season, where the 16th season, he statistically had tops in 6 categories, and he was an all-star and played 81 games. This year, he's been injured for about 20. He's been injured for about 20 games. His points and his field goals and all that. His efficiency has dropped. His rebounding and assisting has dropped, which you could say has been because of the young team that he's been put around, and Curry and Clay being out for most of the season. But still, I'm still counting this against him because this is him. But like I said, he's not a stat sheet guy. So now I'm going to go over to the advanced metrics. Like I said, I will be explaining every metric as I talk about him. So Draymond Green, his usage rate is 15.7. So this pretty much means he has the ball in his hand 15.7% of the time, which that's not super high. That's a good number for Draymond Green, especially because he is that glue guy for the Warriors. So he's always been a guy that, play makes, rebounds. He's that guy, the jack of all trades type of guy, where he's playmaking and rebounding, dribbling the ball up and down the floor. So this is not a bad number to have a 15.7 usage rate. I'm not mad with that. This is where things start to get bad, though. Draymond Green, his turnover rate is 21.8, which means out of 100 possessions, he would turn the ball over 21 times. And he's turning the ball over 21% of the time in games. This is horrible. Usually, when it comes to players, it's the higher the usage rate, the higher their turnover rate. But for him, for some reason, his usage rate is low, but he's turning the ball over at a crazy amount. And this is just bad for him. He's literally dead last when it comes to turnover rate, which means he's turning the ball over the most. His turnover rate is the highest. But that doesn't make sense because his usage rate is only 162nd in the league. So he's not like he just has the ball in his hands all the time. I mean, he's Draymond Green. He's not scoring the ball like crazy. So so like I said, he just turns the ball over a lot, which is just crazy to me because he doesn't have the ball in his hands that much. He's not the guy that you just see handling the ball the entire game. That's usually, the point guard, shooting guard. So that's crazy to me that his usage rate is low. But his turnover rate is very high. Now, the 15-16 season for him, he had an 18.8 usage rate and a turnover rate of 21.2. So that's another thing that has always been a part of his career. He's always been a guy that doesn't hold the ball too much, but he's turning it over a lot. So I won't mark this turnover rate too much against him, but it's a lot because this means that you're turning the ball over at a pretty big rate for a guy that's not handling the ball a lot. So, moving on. Total win shares, right? A total win share is pretty much, it's the advanced stat or the metric or the analytic that shows how much a player is contributing towards a win, right? Draymond Green's win share, which you would think his would be pretty high because you would think that he's contributing to the win quite a bit. He's Draymond, that's what he does. What he does doesn't usually show up on the stat sheet, but it should definitely show up in the win shares. He has a 1.1 win share for this entire season, the same as Jahlil Okafor. Jahlil Okafor does not. Here, let me check. I'm gonna check how many minutes Jahlil Okafor plays compared to Draymond Green. Alright, I'm back. Jahlil Okafor only averages 15 minutes a game. Draymond averages 28 minutes a game, which means his win share shouldn't be anywhere near that low. It should at least be a point higher. And yes, that is a big time improvement when you're giving that much more contributions to your team. It should definitely be higher than 1.1. But, like I said, maybe he has more effect. I'm still trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he has more effect than that. So, he did miss time, right? And when you're looking at win shares, total win shares, his are going to be down because he missed a lot more time. So instead, I looked at win shares per 48. This is a better stat to look at when players have missed time because, it averages back out to just what he's been averaging through the games that he's played per game. So it just shows me what he's been getting per game. He has only gotten 0.04 win shares per 48 games. League average is 1.1. And he's at 0.04. This is horrible. This is telling me Draymond Green isn't even above league average when it comes to making contributions toward his team. This is not good. I can't give him the benefit of the doubt on this. This is just showing me that he's not having any major contributions to his team. This is just not looking good for Draymond. But I'm still going to keep going deeper because maybe there's something that I'm missing. Maybe there's something that Draymond's doing that I'm missing this season. So, I did find some pluses for Draymond Green. He's ranked 22nd in assist percentage or assist rate. Assist rate is pretty much where when Draymond passes the ball to his teammate and his teammate shoots, his shooting percentage, his teammate shooting percentage is at 31.3. So he's 22nd in the league in that. So that's good. You know what I'm saying? That's good. Another thing is his high defensive plus minus. And he has a pretty decent block rate. Now, and lastly, he has a pretty high defensive rebound rate. That's good. Draymond Green has always been a pretty good defensive rebounder. He's always been able to rebound at a high level and get boards. That's what people's always liked about him. And when he's on the floor, his team, his opponent's efficiency is down. So he is obviously still playing defense. Maybe not a high level that he's been playing over the past few years, but he's still playing pretty good defense to the point where his opponents aren't just easily getting buckets over him. When he's on the floor, his opponents aren't nearly as productive. Now, as much as I hate to say it, we're going back to the negatives. I just had to give some positives in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Most of his jump shots, or most of his shots on the floor, are coming from the three-point line. This is not good, knowing that he's only shooting 27% from three. He definitely should not be shooting that many threes when he's shooting that low of percentage. And he should at least, like, if you're going to be shooting that many threes, or at least when most of your shots are coming from the three-point line, you should at least be making them at a 35% mark. Because at least we know that, you know, you're a pretty good shooter. You should be shooting out there. 37% is not good. So in those first 15 games when he realized his shot wasn't on, he should have been attacking the basket. He's a big dude. He should be attacking the basket. Draymond Green coming full force with all of his momentum to the basket. I don't know how many people are going to want to step in front of him. Don't get me wrong, he's not like Zion, but when he's coming full force at you, you don't want to step in front of him. You're going to move out the way like he is Zion. But I'm not saying that those two are nearly the same player, nearly alike. So a better way for him to be scoring should be 2 feet around the rim. But he isn't shooting enough of those. He's not shooting within 2 feet of the rim. He's trying to shoot nothing but jump shots. Catch and shoot jump shots. That's what he's trying to shoot. And so what I'm saying is he's really not playing towards his strengths. He's playing towards not his weaknesses, because if you look in his past years, he shot pretty well from the three-point line. Like I said, in that 16 season, he was shooting in that 16 season he was shooting 38% from three. So he's not a bad shooter, especially if you look at his past years. He's not been a bad shooter, but like I said, he's digressed a little bit. So he should have figured out that in those first 15 games, dang, my shot isn't falling. I need to attack the basket. So that's something. But I think he will benefit back when Clay and Curry get back, because Clay and Curry take a lot of the defensive pressure away from him. But then again, when I say that, most of his shots from three that he's shooting are wide open. So it's not like he's being contested or they're playing very good defense on him. He's just not getting buckets. He's not making his open threes. You know what I'm saying? Another thing. His plus minus. He has a negative 7.5 plus minus. Now, this is bad. This is a horrible plus minus. I don't know why it's like this. He's just not playing like he should be. Because a plus minus pretty much shows like how good this player is when he's on and off the floor. How much better his team is, how good he is when he's on and off the floor, right? he's just not performing that well on the floor. He's making a hindrance to his team when he's playing. And now I know I'm kind of skimming through this kind of quickly. I don't want to bore you guys with these stats or anything. I'm kind of throwing you guys some facts. So I'm not trying to bore you guys with these stats. So I'm kind of going through it somewhat quickly, but I'm still going pretty in depth because I'm trying to go in depth, but also have kind of speed to how I'm talking about them. So his true shooting percentage. I was trying to find it, right? I could not find him when it came to true shooting percentage. If you don't know what that is, true shooting pretty much shows how efficient of a scorer you actually are. Like, because it uses free throw, 2-point, and 3-point percentages. So it shows how much of a whole around scorer you are. He didn't even qualify for true shooting. He's shooting like 48% when it comes to true shooting. That is horrible. Like I said, I just don't know what to say. But he's not a scorer, so I get it. But his efficiency should definitely still be higher than that. Now, his team is still worse when he's off the floor. But I'm gonna say that most of that cause is because he's playing with a young Warriors team, so they're still developing. So I'm not surprised that his team is still bad with him off the floor. But his opponents are still producing way more than he is when he's on the floor. His opponents are getting more buckets when he's on the floor compared to when he's not. So, yes, like I said before, he is having a defensive impact where his opponents aren't scoring as much or having nearly as much production. They're still having way more production than he is. If you compare him to his opponent's production, yes, he's stopping them a little bit, but they're still having a way bigger production than he is. So, like I said before, you might think that he's better on defense, but you would be wrong. This year is his highest amount in defensive rating, which means he is allowing the most points from his opponent in his career. This is horrible. This is bad. He should not be allowing this many points. I think it was 110. So this is definitely one of his worst seasons on defense and offense, efficiently, just all around. This is one of his worst seasons. Now, this is another portion. We're finally off of the advanced metrics and that. So now I wanted to compare Draymond Green to a player very much like him, and I chose to do Dennis Rodman. I chose to compare both players in their 8th season, so it's still fair. And if actually it should be more pointed towards Draymond because Draymond is 30 and Dennis Rodman is 32 in his 8th season. So Draymond should still be averaging way better stats. Or not way better, but Draymond, it should be more pointed towards Draymond averaging better stats. So now I'm going to go back into I'm going to tell you guys Draymond stats again, and then I'm going to go over Dennis Rodman's stats. I'm going to go over some of Dennis Rodman's advanced stats, and then I'm going to give you guys my conclusion, alright? So, Draymond Green, like I said, this year is averaging 8 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2.3 turnovers, 0.8 blocks, 1.5 steals, 38 from the field goal, 27 from 3. He's shooting 3 attempts a game on 0.8 3-pointers actually made, and points. He's shooting 75% from the free throw line. Dennis Rodman, on the other hand, is averaging, in his 8th season, he was averaging 5 points a game, 17 rebounds, 2 assists, 0.17 turnovers, 0.4 blocks, 0.7 of a steal, 58 from the field goal, and 20% from the 3 on 0.3 attempts, and made 0.1. He's shooting 52% from the free throw, which is horrible. But anyways, so what this is showing me right here, just looking at these box score stats, Draymond isn't having necessary. But looking at these two, Draymond's not necessarily having the better season because neither of them are scorers. So the difference between 5 and 8 points, okay, but they're those hustle guys, right? Dennis Rodman has 17 rebounds and Draymond has 6. This is showing me Dennis Rodman is still, contributing to his team very much. Though I can say Draymond isn't turning the ball over nearly as much as Dennis. Dennis has more turnovers at 7.1. Oh, actually, my bad. That's my fault. He's not averaging. Draymond has more turnovers at 2.3. Dennis is at 1.7. So, all right. Now I'm getting into Dennis Rodman's advanced stats. Dennis Rodman's usage rate is lower than Draymond's at 7.1. So at 7.1% of the time, Dennis Rodman has the ball. Not a lot. I mean, he was in San Antonio at this point in time, so they weren't really keen on having him. They didn't really like him that much, so he didn't have the ball as much. 7.1 though, that's not bad. Knowing his player, he's not a post-up guy, so it's not like he's gonna have the ball a whole lot. But his turnover rate was at a higher percentage than Draymond's at 29%. This is horrible. 29% of the time he was turning the ball over. Which, if you look at his usage rate, it doesn't even he's turning the ball over, but he has a low usage rate. So it's like, wow, that's crazy. Him and Draymond really are both turning the ball over very much like at the same rate. I mean, his is still higher because he has a lower usage rate and a high turnover rate. So he's turned the ball over quite a bit. But what I say would cancel all that out because he's not having the ball very much. So like I said, he's only averaging 1.7 of the turnover. So it's almost 2 turnovers. That I say that all cancels out when you look at his rebound rate. He has a 17.9 offensive rebound rate and a 32.8 defensive rebounding rate. And his total rebounding rate is 25.1. If you don't know what a rebounding rate is, if I didn't already tell you, that's my fault. A rebounding rate is pretty much, for available rebounds, what is the percentage that this player would grab them. This means Dennis Rodman was grabbing 17.9% of the available rebounds on offensive rebounds, and he was grabbing more than 30% of the available defensive rebounds. This is a crazy amount of rebounds. Like I said, he was averaging 17 rebounds a game. He was averaging 11 defensive rebounds and 5 offensive rebounds. Nearly 6 offensive rebounds. This is wild. You know what I'm saying? This shows that he's doing really nice. And another way that I can tell you guys that Dennis Rodman was contributing more than Draymond is Rodman has a .14 win share per 48. So he was contributing way more than Draymond Green was. And he ended with I think his total win share was 8. So he was definitely contributing more than Draymond is. But now I'm going to give you my conclusion. Draymond Green has fallen off in every category of his career this year. I take that half in part because he's with the bad team. He's with a bad Warriors team, and he's not the guy that the defense is pretty much focused on him, at least to some amount. So he's not going to average as well as numbers. He's not efficient. He's not doing nearly as well on defense. I mean, he's probably guarding one of the other team's best players. So this has just been a bad year for Draymond. He's not averaging good averages. He's just not playing well. Now, I do think, like I said before, his averages will go up better when Clay and Curry get back because they demand the defense. And Clay will probably guard the best perimeter player, so he only has to worry about the bigs, right? Which is still a pretty big task. But I truly think that Draymond is only going to have maybe 1 or 2 more good years when Curry and Clay get back. Because Draymond, athleticism wise, he's falling off. I don't like to say it because he's that player that he's that Dennis Rodman of today's generation. His athleticism is falling off. He's not going to be able to throw his body around like he does now anymore, and he's going to end up very injured. I mean, he's already, like I said, missed 20 games this season, so it's already starting to come. But I would hate to see him get injured even more. So, yeah, I think he's only gonna have one or two more good seasons, and I think after that the Warriors might try to ship him around, or he might just be done in the league at 32, which is sad to say. I don't want to say that because I wish the best for everybody in the NBA, or the best for anybody anywhere. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking about Draymond. I would definitely say this is a negative impact on his career because it's just kind of showing his flaws. So this was my full career, not career. This was my full season and future anticipation and analysis of Draymond Green. I had fun looking at these. It definitely bewildered me. I was definitely surprised to see what I saw because I thought Draymond Green was having much more of an effect. So it definitely surprised me to see all this. But it was definitely fun for the first time that I've done it. Well, as I do it more, I should be able to refine and kind of figure out a pattern for how I'm going to do these and which things I'm going to look at. But I do think this was fun. I think you guys will like it when you see it. Well, I sound dumb. I'm talking to you guys, but as you see it, you're gonna, you know what I'm saying. But you guys would definitely. I know you guys enjoyed this one. This was Gotta Keep It Real podcast, another episode, the basketball edition, if you want to say. I'll see you guys a little later. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Talk to me in the comments. I'm open. Give me another player to do. This was fun. Sorry if you hear that background noise. People still can't be quiet. But I'll be with y'all later. Peace.